Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Success does not come from what we do occasionally, but from what we do consistently. And staying consistent with current affairs is the key to cracking competitive exams. Welcome back to our weekly current affairs science and technology part 2, in which we will cover the remaining 30 important updates out of 55, included many current affairs updates. These updates are highly relevant for UPSC, BPSC, state PCS, SSC, banking, NDA, CDS, and many other competitive exam. So, my dear aspirants, stay focused and take notes carefully. Remember, every small step you take today brings you closer to your dream tomorrow. Remember, every small step you take today brings you closer to your dream tomorrow. Reading current affairs daily may feel like a small habit, but it creates a huge difference in exam performance. My dear aspirants, it's my request to stay disciplined, keep learning, and never stop believing in yourself. Success is not far when dedication is near. So let's get started with the remaining current affairs news. 26 news is genetically engineered bacteria enable self-powered biosensors. There is an advancement in the field of synthetic biology and biochemistry with the help of development of self-powered chemical biosensor. In this technology, we have used genetically engineered bacteria. So it is a great advancement in the field of synthetic biology and biochemistry developed by Imperial College London and Zhejiang University. They have created these living biosensor that cover chemical that able to convert chemical signals into electrical outputs. Chemical signals are able to convert it into electrical outputs. So these devices provides low cost, portable, programmed bioelectronic application. There are limitation of traditional biosensor which are used in used as a chemical sensor biosensor. Conventional traditional biosensor totally depend on enzymes, so they tend to be fragile and it is expensive also. Their traditional biosensor response time can be slow, especially in different complex environments. Optical signals from wholesale biosensor are difficult to integrate with portable electronics. So there are difficulty in integrating with portable electronics according to the need of advanced technology. So these issue limit that practical use in field condition. About newly developed biocell powered chemical sensor with the help of genetically engineered bacteria. So researchers use in the bacteria, the name of that bacteria is E. coli. So E. coli is used and which is used as a self-powered chemical sensor, biosensor. So E. coli bacteria is used as biological platforms. These bacteria were genetically modified to include three modules. The bacteria were genetically modified to include three modules: sensing, information processing, and output. First is to sensing, then second is information processing and output. So these bacteria were modified with the help of these three processes. The sensing modules detect target chemicals using molecular regulators. The processing modules help in amplifying or modifying the signals. Output module produces phenazines, which is a nitrogen containing molecules, help in detection, help in detectable, which is a function as a detector by electrochemical techniques, with the help of electrochemical methods. About Escherichia coli, which is used as a biosensor, it is a commonly occurred in bacteria in present in our intestine, which is in warm-blooded animals. Mostly whichever present in our intestines are harmless. Some like Caesar toxin producing E. coli, STEC, Caesar toxin producing E. coli, cause severe foodborne ailments, illness. STEC, Caesar toxin producing E. coli, mainly through transmits through contaminated foods such as undercooked meat, raw milk, and raw vegetables. So it produces Caesar toxin similar to those from Caesella dysentery. So STEC grows between 7 degrees Celsius and 50 degrees Celsius, optimally at 37 degrees Celsius, and it can survive in acidic food also, and it requires a minimum water activity. Cooking food to 70 degrees Celsius or higher, if we cook food more than at 70 degrees Celsius or more than it destroys Caesar toxin producing E. coli. So then it is harmless. It is not causing any harm to anyone. So E. coli is the most STEC strain for public health, and E. coli, that is a 0157H7, is the most STC strain for public health, but others also causes different types of ailments and outbreaks. So it is about human how to use the biosensing method with the help of biotechnology. So human gastrointestinal tract, then GI microbes metabolized, and biosensing platform is used, and these are the method used for the detection methods, opticals, potential, and the colorimetric. So these are the method used for sensing all different types of environments. Detection of specific chemicals are there. Two biosensor were developed. The first detected arabinose, which is a plant sugar. The first detected biosensor was a plant sugar. Upon sensing arabinose, bacteria produce phenazine 1 carboxylic acid, which help in generating an electric current which is proportional to the sugar concentration within 2 hours. So this bacteria produce chemical. The name of the chemical is phenazine 1 carboxylic acid, which help in producing an electric current which is proportional to the sugar concentration within 2 hours. The second biosensor targeted mercury ions in water. Presence of mercury ion is also used in the water. Sugar concentration, then mercury is used. So second biosensor targeted mercury ions in water. A genetic amplifier enhance phenolizing production when mercury bound to the MER protein. So there is a presence of MER protein, and this genetic amplifier improve phenazine production when mercury bound to MER protein. So these allowed detection of mercury at 25 nanomoles below World Health Organization safety limits within 3 hours. There are some logical operation within the living sensor. The team also engineered an AND logic gate inside E. coli. So this biosensor technique use an AND logic gate inside E. coli bacteria. So this AND gate triggered a signal only when two specific molecules were present simultaneously. This demonstrates the potential for complex biochemical computing within the living biosensor. Many application and advantages. So these living biosensor we are using E. coli, so can self-maintain and operate in contaminated environment also. Their electrical outputs are compatible with low-cost electronics, help in enabling portable devices. So this approach could revolutionize environmental monitoring, we will use it in medical diagnosis also, and food safety testing also. So these are the application and advantages of E. coli as a biosensor. Next news is government aims Bharatiya Antariksh Station by 2035 and man on moon by 2040. So India is setting ambitious new goals in the global science race, and held its vision to establish a fully operational Bharatiya Antariksh Station. India's mission is to establish a fully operational Bharatiya Antariksh Station by the year 2035 and to send Indian astronauts to the moon by 2040. So these missions are marked as key scientific milestone on the path to realizing the vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047. So it is a historic mission of Indian Air Force Group Captain Sudhanshu Shukla, celebrating the historic mission of Indian Air Force Group Captain Subhanshu Shukla, the first Indian astronaut to board the International Space Station, as all of us are aware of this. This achievement was hailed as a moment of national pride and a testament to the country's growing space capabilities. So the ministry outlined that India's next frontier includes Bharatiya Antariksh Station by 2025 and crewed moon mission by 2040. So Bharatiya Antariksh Station by 2035, which is a permanent indigenous space station. Two into long duration human space lift. Crewed moon mission by 2050. So an Indian astronaut will able to set foot on the moon, making a monumental milestone in the nation's space exploration journey. Foundation on the vision 11 years of space reform. So Dr. Jitendra Singh highlighted how India's space journey has been changing, evolving, revolutionizing over the last 11 years, particularly under the guideline of Prime Minister. So he credited several major policy shifts. Key developments taken place, opening the space sector to private players. So this has led to an ecosystem of innovation with multiple space tech startups emerging across India. Second is key developments are increase R&D, increase in cutting edge research have enhanced ISRO's capabilities and technological breakthroughs also. Third is Operation Sindoor. Operation Sindoor, you all are knowing the technologies used in this operation were developed during the Prime Minister government tenures, showcasing space tech real world utility. So there is also socio-economic impact of space innovation. It is also deeply linked to the growth of the national economy and public welfare. There are some notable benefits. Satellite data help in agriculture also, disaster management also, and urban planning also. It also improve navigation and communication system support, transport and logistic also. It also help in remote sensing, in infrastructure development and environmental monitoring. So these examples underscore how space technology contributes to improving quality of life and advancing economic development across sectors. Next news is United States Russia talk impact India's Russian oil imports. United States Russia talk impact India's Russian oil imports. 2025 United States Russia summit happened in Alaska, ended without a ceasefire agreement for Ukraine. So the 2025 US Russia summit in Alaska, which was ended without a ceasefire agreement for Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin emerged politically stronger, while US President Donald Trump showed no immediate follow-up on sanction of or concrete no any concrete outcomes. So the talks drew global attention, especially from India, which closely watched the implication for its trade, economy, and energy security amid ongoing US sanctions related to Russian oil imports. So the background is the Russia-Ukraine war. The war that began in 2022 has shaped global geopolitics. The US imposed sanctions on Russia and its allies to pressure Moscow to cease hostility. Trump's administration threatened tougher sanctions but hesitated to act decisively. Putin used also such summits to improve Russia's global image without making major concession. India's independence on Russian oil. Since 2022, India has increased its import of Russian crude oil. India has increased its import of Russian crude oil. Initially, less than 2% of India's oil came from Russia. Discount offered by Russia and Western sanctions made it the largest crude supplier to India by 2025, accounting for 35 to 40% of India's oil imports. This shift helped India secure energy at different competitive price. US secondary tariffs. The US imposed a 25% secondary tariff on Indian goods in response to India's purchase of Russian oil. The tariff aims to pressurize India to reduce dependence on Russia, and it's aligned with US sanction. However, Indian refiners continue buying Russian crude based on commercial logic. The government of India calls the tariff unjustified. What are the outcomes of Alaska summit? The Alaska talks ended on deal on Ukraine or sanction relief. Trump hinted that sanction might increase if talks fails. India hopes for a rollback or delay of secondary tariffs but remains uncertain. The summit brought into light India's delicate position between United States pressure and its energy needs. What are implications for India? So India faces a complex dilemmatic situation balancing strategic ties with the United States and economic interest linked to Russia. Secondary tariff complicate trade relations with the United States. India's energy security depends on affordable oil, making Russian imports vital. So, future United States-Russia relation will influence India's policy choices. So these are about the future prospects. India's response will depend on evolving United States Russia dynamics relationship and global energy market. The United States may tighten secondary tariffs or seek EU cooperation. United States may strict secondary tariffs or seek EU cooperation. India must navigate sanction while securing energy supplies. India must navigate sanction while securing energy supplies. The geopolitical tug of war over Russian oil, which is continuing to influence India's foreign and economic policies. So India's approach remains pragmatic and commercially driven. Next news is extreme weather events in Jammu and Kashmir. The Kiswar district of Jammu and Kashmir faced a tragic flash flood recently. Torrential rain struck the remote village of Chastoli near Machel Mata Temple. So at least 65 people died and over 50 remain missing. So experts link the rising frequency and intensity of such disaster to global warming because of global warming and changing weather patterns. Jammu and Kashmir has seen a sharp rise in extreme weather events, causing thousands of deaths over recent years. So between 2010 and 2022, Jammu and Kashmir recorded 2,863 extreme weather events. Thunderstorm occurred 1,942 times, while heavy rains was reported 409 times. Flash flood, landslide also, heavy snow also. Overall, 552 deaths were recorded during this period due to extreme weather between 2010 and 2022. There are major causes behind these extreme events because of the rising temperature, changing western disturbances, and the recent topography also. Western Himalaya have warmed twice double as fast as Indian subcontinent since 2000. Warmer year holds more moisture, as we know. Warmer years when it's getting up, so it's hold more moisture and help in increasing rainfall intensity and frequency. Shrinking, there is a major amount of shrinking of glacier, which causes glacial lakes, unstable glacial lakes, which can burst and cause floods downstream. There is also western disturbances and changing patterns. Western disturbances are rain-bearing winds that move eastwards from areas beyond of Afghanistan and Iran. So they usually affect the region in winter, but now occur beyond this season. Global warming has heated the Arabian Sea. Global warming is the main cause of increase in temperature of Arabian Sea. Moisture supply to this system increase. So these also increases rainfall and flood risk in Jammu, Kashmir and other Himalayan states. Next news is Sarvottam Yuddha Seva medals. Sarvottam Yuddha Seva medals were awarded in 2025 to seven military leaders for their distinguished service during Operation Sindoor. This operation was launched by Indian Air Force in response to a terror attack in Pahalgam. The awards recognize exceptional leadership and operational success in wartime during Operation Sindur. So this year the Indian Air Force received the majority of medals, followed by the Army and Navy. Operation Sindoor began on 7th May 2025. It targeted 9 terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan occupied Kashmir. The operation was a direct response to the Pahalgam terror attack, which resulted in 26 civilian deaths. The attack was attributed to terrorists linked with Laskar-e-Taiba. The operation aimed to neutralize terror infrastructure and restore security along the line of controls. Significance, and what are the significance of giving Sarvottam Yudh Seva medals? It is the India's highest wartime distinguished service honor. It is awarded for exceptional leadership during war, conflict, or hostilities. This medal is equivalent in prestige to Param Visist Seva Medal, which is awarded for peacetime services. So it is equivalent to Param Visist Seva Medal. Param Visist Seva Medal is awarded for peacetime service. Historically, it has been awarded only 3 times before, including during the Kargil War. So, India's Air Force role and recognition, key leaders included Air Marshal Naramdeswar Tiwari, Air Marshal Nagesh Kapoor, Air Marshal Jitendra Mishra, Air Marshal A.K. Bharti. So, Indian Air Force conducted precision strike on terrorist camp and 11 Pakistan air bases, including Nur Khan and Rahim Yar Khan. So, the integrated air command and control system enabled real-time coordination. Indian Air Force also defended against drone swarm targeting civilian religious site using Akash surface to air missile and legacy defense system. Historic recognition: for the first time, a Navy officer was awarded the SYSM Vice Admiral Sanjay Jasjeet Singh, who is retired one, commanded the Western Naval Command during Operation Sindoor. Navy deployed its carrier battle group with MiG-29K fighters, early warning helicopters, and submarines in the Arabian Sea. The naval operation restricted Pakistani air movements and demonstrated India's strategic reach and maritime readiness. Outcome of Operation Sindoor is very positive. It disrupted terrorist infrastructure across the border. It showcased joint operation among the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Pakistan initially rejected India's request for dialogue, but later proposed cessation of hostilities. The operation showcased India's capability to respond decisively to terror threats while maintaining operational coordination. Next news is Slite Sark recorded in Great Chagos Bank. Slite Sark has been recorded for the first time in the Great Chagos Bank. The Carol Atoll is the largest of its kind globally. This Carol Atoll is the largest of its type globally. The discovery reveals the rich and largely unexplored biodiversity of Chagos archipelago and its marine protected area. Researchers captured image of the shark in deep sea grass habitats on the southern rim of bank. This finding improves adds new knowledge about the species and its habitat performance. Discovery of Sleetail's shark in Chagos. Scientists use Bited remote underwater video system to record two Sleetail sharks. They were found only 11 kilometers apart at depth between 23 and 29 meters. Although usually found in deeper waters, the Sleetail shark can also live in shallow and clear seas also. So this is the first time it has been documented documented this shark has been seen in the Great Chagos Bank. Significance of deep water seagrass habitat: the Slite shark was discovered in seagrass meadows first mapped in 2016. This seagrass meadow lie deeper than previously expected, revealed by satellite tracking of green turtles. It revealed by satellite tracking of green turtles. Over 110 fish species use this underwater grassland for food and shelter. The presence of Slete sharks, so these habitats support different types of diverse marine lives, and it also showcase the scientism, how they are involved in finding the seawater ecosystem. Scientists show the importance of deep water seagrass ecosystem for ocean biodiversity. So, physical feature and distribution of steelate shark is a small-bodied reclaimed shark, grows up to 95 centimeter in length and slender body, long, narrow face. The shark has a small, smooth-edged teeth, wide belly, range cover tropical water of Indian and Western Pacific Ocean, including coast of India, Australia, Japan, and East Africa. So, it range cover these areas. About conservation status and threats, the Sleeted shark is listed as near threatened by IUCN. Its population is expected to decrease by nearly 30% over 15 years. The main threat is heavy fishing pressure in coastal waters. This new discovery in Chagos raises question about the species abundance and habitat use. Protecting deep water seagrass habitat is critical for conservation of these shark and other marine species in the Indian Ocean. What are the implications? The discovery strengthened the case for conserving the Great Chagos Bank and its ecosystem. Deep water seagrass meadows are important for many marine species. Their protection helps maintain biodiversity and ecological balance. The findings encourage further research on lesser known habitats and species. They also show the need to manage fishing and manage different types of human activity sustainably in marine protected areas. Next news is nomination powers of Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly. The Union Home Minister recently clarified before the Jammu and Kashmir Ladakh High Court that the Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir can nominate 5 members to the Jammu and Kashmir Legislative Assembly without consulting the Council of Ministers. So it has raised question about constitutional provision and democratic principle union territories with legislatures. So, constitutional provision on nominated members. The Constitution of India allows nominated members in Parliament and a state legislature. Rajya Sabha has 12 nominated members appointed by the President on the Union Council of Ministers' advice. Six states with legislative council include nominated members chosen by governors on their Council of Ministers' advice. The Anglo-Indian nominated member provision was discontinued in 2020. The Anglo-Indian nominated member provision was discontinued in 2020. Nomination powers vary by region and legislative body. About nominated members in union territories, legislative assembly in union territories are governed by specific parliamentary acts. Delhi Assembly has 70 elected members and no nominated MLAs. Puducherry Assembly has 30 elected members and up to 3 nominated by Union government. Jammu and Kashmir's Assembly, after reorganization in 2019, an amendment happened in 2023. It has 90 elected seats plus up to 5 nominated members. These nominations include 2 women, 2 Kashmiri migrants, and 1 displaced person from Pakistan occupied Kashmir. So, judicial interpretation and rulings. The Madras High Court in 2018 upheld the union government's power to nominate Puducherry MLAs without Union Territory Council of Ministers advice but recommended clear statutory provision. The Supreme Court later set aside these recommendations. In the 2023 Government of NCT of Delhi versus Union of India case, the Supreme Court emphasized the triple chain of command. Supreme Court emphasized the triple chain of command: civil servants answer to minister, minister to legislatures, and legislator to voters. It ruled the LG must follow the Council of Minister advice except where the assembly lacks legislative powers. This principle may apply to nomination as well. About democratic implication and challenges, union territories have limited autonomy compared to states, but possesses elected governments accountable to the people. Nominated MLAs can influence assembly majorities, especially in smaller legislatures like Jammu Kashmir and Puducherry. This can disrupt popular mandates if political parties differ between the center and union territory government. Jammu Kashmir is unique due to its special status before 2019 and ongoing plans to restore statehood. Given these complexities, nomination by LG should ideally be passed on the Council of Ministers, advised to protect democratic values. Next news is, which is a very important news, standard OBC creamy layer criteria. So the government of India is actively working to ensure uniform application of creamy layer concept in reservation for other backward classes. So this initiative aims to address inconsistencies across central and state government jobs, public sector units, universities, and other organizations. The effort follows consultation with multiple ministers, Niti Aayog, National Commission for Backward Classes. The goal is to create fairness and clarity in reservation eligibility by establishing equivalence in job categories and pay scales. There must be equivalence in job categories and pay scale. A background of creamy layer concept. The creamy layer principle was upheld by the Supreme Court in 1992 Indra Sawhney case. It excludes affluent individual within OBC from reservation benefits. The Department of Personnel and Trainings issued the first creamy layer guidelines in 1993. These included exclusion of children of high-ranking government official professionals and wealthy families. An income ceiling was set initially at rupees 1 lakh per annum, later raised to rupees 8 lakh in 2017. Income from salary and agriculture was treated differently in this calculation. So these are the background of creamy layer concept. So it mostly excludes, it removed affluent individual within the OBC from reservation benefits. Creamy layer, non-creamy layers. Creamy layers income above 8 lakhs, family income above 8 lakhs, agriculture income will not include. In case of any competitive exam, you are not eligible to take a relaxation. No requirement for any certificates. Non-creamy layers income below 8 lakhs, below 8 lakh agriculture income will not include. You enjoy the benefits including age relaxation and competitive exam. So these are the benefit you will get. For reservation, you need to require to submit an OBC certificate. So OBC non-creamy layer income limit is used to benefit who qualifies for reservation benefits. So in 1993, income limit has changed over time. And in 1993, income limit is 1 lakh. 2004, income limit 2 lakh 50,000. 2008, it becomes 4 lakh 50,000. 2013, it became 6 lakh. And 2017, it became 8 lakh current limit, which is a current limit. So at present, it is 8 lakh. So the income limit of 8 lakh is applicable to parents' income, not the applicant's personal income. Not the applicant's personal income. Eligibility rule for OBC, non-creamy layers, family income rules, government job rules, and private sector rules. So these are the rules. Children of wealthy professional or big business owners are creamy layers. Small business owners and middle class professional usually qualify for non-creamy layer. Legal background in court cases, key legal cases, the creamy layer concepts came from important court decision after important court decision. And these key legal cases are Indra Sawhney case in the year 1992, rule for OBC to ensure fair distribution of reservation benefits. Next case is Jarnail Singh case in the year 2018. So extended creamy layer rules to SC/ST categories in government promotion. Next legal case is Supreme Court ruling 2024, a major decision that creamy layer concept can apply to all reserved categories, making a big change in India's reservation policy. So these legal decisions ensure that reservation benefits reach the right people. it reaches the right people. State versus central OBC list is also there. State OBC list used for state government, state colleges and local exam. Central OBC list for central government jobs, UPSC, SSC and central universities. So these are the criteria. Clarification and challenges since 2024. In 2004, DOPT issued clarification to address gaps in the creamy layers criteria, especially for job outside government. It introduced income test for parents' salaries and other earning excluding agriculture income. Despite this, the clarification were not rigorously implemented during the UPA government years. From 2015 onwards, it begins scrutinizing caste certificate more strictly. Over 100 successful candidates were denied OBC benefits based on the updated criminal norms, even though the qualified under earlier rules. So it is a complication and challenges since 2004. There are many firsts to stabilize equivalence across job categories. For example, university assistant professor pay scale correspond to Group A government post, Group A government post, so their children may be classified as creamier. So the proposal suggests excluding those with income under rupees 8 lakh from creamier status in some cases. This approach aims to correct anomalies, to correct differences where employees of similar rank receive different treatment. About beneficiaries of the proposed policy, if implemented, the policy will benefit children of lower level government employees earning above rupees 8 lakh annually. It also harmonized treatment for employees in government aided and state organization. However, private sector employees will continue to be assessed mainly by income criteria due to the complexity of private job structures. So these move seeks to balance social justice with fairness and transparency in reservation policy. Now, global climate action at COP30 in Brazil. The 30th session of Conference of Parties COP30 to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which it was 30th session of Conference of Parties, COP30. It is scheduled for November 2025 in Belém, Brazil. In Belém, Brazil. It will be conducted in Belém, Brazil, November 2025. So this meeting is critical, is important as global climate mitigation efforts face renewed changes. Many changes. The focus remains on encouraging cooperation among all nations to limit global warming, to reduce global warming and manage climate risk effectively. Background of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It was created to address climate change through global cooperation with the help of global help. Initially, it placed primary responsibility on developed countries called Annex 1 nation. Initially, it placed primary responsibility on developed countries called Annex 1 nation due to their historical emissions. This principle is known as common but differentiated responsibilities. Over time, developed countries have shifted towards voluntary countries for all nations. So this change places greater responsibility on developing countries like China and India, who now actively pursue low carbon emission growth strategies. About Paris Agreement, 2015 Paris Agreements aims to keep global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels, with efforts to limit to reduce it to 1.5 degrees Celsius. However, current national commitments fall short. According to UNEP Emission Gap Report 2024, these pledges could result in a temperature rise between 2.6 degrees Celsius and 2.8 degrees Celsius. Without stronger policies, the rise could reach 3.1 degrees Celsius, far beyond safe limits, which is far beyond safe limits. So Brazil proposes global climate councils. The objective is to ensure faster, more coordinated climate action on global scale, enhance the efficiency of current climate framework, and foster a sense of collective responsibility among nations, providing a central platform for countries to collaboration on climate-related initiatives. It helps in simplifying bureaucratic hurdles, thereby making climate action more impactful, more powerful, and results driven. There are also many economic impact. Climate change threatens economic growth also, especially in the developing Asia and the Pacific. Asian Development Bank warns that GDP in this region could reduce by 17% by 2070 if high emission continue. India's GDP might decline by nearly 25% under the same scenario. So these figures show the urgent need for effective mitigation, for effective management. Current emission trends, six major emitters around for 74% of cumulative CO2 emission, and these are United States, European Union, China, Russia, Japan, and India. So six major emitters countries are which are emitting 74% of CO2 emission. United States, European Union, China, Russia, Japan, and India. So developed countries have reduced emissions since 1995, while emission have increased in China, Russia, and India. Per capita emissions show stark contrast. The US leads with 14.3 tons per person, Russia 12.5 tons, and EU 5.4 tons. China's per capita emission are 8.4 tons, while India remains low at 2.1 tons. About United States role and policy shifts, it initially binding commitments in the 1990s, but later joined the Paris Agreement under Barack Obama. The Biden administration renewed efforts with policies like the Inflammation Reduction Act. However, the Trump administration withdrew from the Paris Agreement, reversed progress, reducing the US emission cut target from 40% to 3% by 2030. This rollback adds billion of tons of CO2 emission. Importance of COP30 and global cooperation. COP30 must address the weakening of commitments, especially from developed nations. Brazil and India, with low per capita emission, are positioned to lead coalition of low emitted developing countries. They can advocate for the common but differentiated responsibilities principle. The success of COP30 depends on increasing pressure on developed countries to act decisively and honor their historic obligation. Next news is exercise Alchi Freedom Shield. South Korea and the United States commence their annual large-scale joint military exercise. And the name of that joint military exercise between the South Korea and the United States is Alchi Freedom Shield. 11-day drills involve 21,000 troops, including 18,000 South Koreans, aims to enhance preparedness against different threats from nuclear armed North Korea. The exercise comes amid heightened tension on the Korean Peninsula ahead of a planned summit between South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung and US President Donald Trump's. Purpose is Alchi Freedom Shield is designed to improve joint operational readiness, focuses on computer simulated command post exercise and field trainings. The drill prepare forces to counter nuclear missile, drone, and other unconventional tracks. The allies describe the exercise as defensive rather than offensive. North Korea responds. Korea strongly oppose the drills. It views them as rehearsal for invasion and threat to sovereignty. Pyongyang has vowed to respond to any provocation beyond the military boundary line. North Korean officials link the exercises to increase military confrontation and continue weapons testing to advance their nuclear program. About political and diplomatic context, the exercise occurs during a sensitive political phase. President Lee Jae-myung seeks to resume dialogue with North Korea despite Pyongyang's refusal. The US-South Korea alliance faces pressure as President Trump considered troop reduction or increased financial contribution from Seoul. So North Korea's growing ties with Russia add complexity to regional security dynamics. About operation adjustment and diplomatic signals, South Korean official indicates this may be a gesture to ease tension, to solve tension, and encourage dialogue. However, North Korea remains firm in rejecting talks. North Korea remains firm and strong in rejecting talks and warns of countermeasures. The US and South Korean militaries have increased vigilance and surveillance to monitor North Korean activities closely. Strategic implications are also there. The drills reinforce the US and South Korea military alliance. They demonstrate readiness to deter North Korean aggression. However, they also risk provoking Pyongyang, which may increase military demonstration. The exercise reflects a broader geopolitical shift, including US strategic focus on China and North Korea's alignment with Russia. Next news is India UK Digital Trade Compact advances global economy. The India United Kingdom Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement (CETA) of 2025 marks step in digital trade cooperation. Chapter 12 of the deal focuses on digital trade, balancing access with regulatory oversights. This compact opens new path for businesses while raising question about digital sovereignty. India UK digital agreements, the 2005 includes a dedicated chapter on digital trades. It recognizes electronic signature and contracts between both countries. This reduces paperwork and improves smoother software exports. It also encourages innovation through regulatory sandboxes for data driven businesses, and it also improves India to deepen its role in the global digital economy. About key digital benefits of the agreements, this cross-border improve cross-border trade by improving paperless documentation and electronic invoicing. Small and medium enterprises gain easier market access. Indian IT firms can explore British public procurement opportunities. Social security waivers for short term assignment reduce cost for employers. Textile exports to the UK will benefit from tariff reduction, boosting regional economies. Overall, the agreement promises a more predictable and expensive trade corridor. Concern about digital sovereignty. So access to source code is only allowed during investigation or court proceeding. Government procurement is exempt from this restriction, preserving some control. So critics argue that India has limited its regulatory control by banning routine source code inspection. However, the absence of automatic oversight tool raises concern about safeguarding national interest in digital governance. About proposed measure to strengthen oversight, India could address sovereignty concern by accrediting trusted laboratories to review sensitive code under strict safeguards, mandating audit trails for cross border data flows would improve accountability. A formal review of digital trade rule is scheduled in 5 years, but a shorter 3 year cycle is suggested to keep pace with rapid technological changes like artificial intelligence. So there is a strategic shift in India's trade policy. It aligns with domestic reforms such as Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. Future trade agreement could benefit from institutionalized pre-negotiation consultation to address concern early. Balancing market openness with regulatory oversight will help India maintain sovereignty while engaging globally. So these steps can harmonize India's digital sovereignty with its ambition in the global digital economy. Next news is consumer dispute redresses sees major digital transformation. Recent data from July 2025 shows a remarkable improvement in consumer grievance disposal rates across India. The 10 states and the National Consumer Disputes Redress Commission (NCDRC) The National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, 10 states reported disposal rates exceeding 100%. This means more cases were resolved than filed during this period. The introduction of this e-Jagriti platform, the name of the platform is e-Jagriti platform, played important role in this progress by streamlining complaint registration and case management. About disposal rates reflect enhanced efficiency. Recently, NCDRC achieved a disposal rate of 122%. Tamil Nadu led with 277%, followed by Rajasthan at 214% and Telangana at 158%. Other states such as Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Meghalaya, Kerala, Puducherry, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh also recorded disposal rates over 100%. This marks a rise compared to the same period in 2024, indicating faster resolution of consumer dispute nationwide. About e-Jagriti platform launched on 1st January 2025 by the Department of Consumer Affairs. E-Jagriti integrates multiple legacy system into one platform. So it connects OCMS, Dakhil, NCDRC, CMS, and Confront portal. So it connects many platforms. So this unified interface allows consumer and advocates to file many different complaints from anywhere in India or abroad using OTP based authentication. So it supports online offline fee payments and real time case tracking also. So what is about the Consumer Protection Act 2019? Aims to strengthen consumer rights in India, addressing challenges from globalization, technology, and e-commerce. There are many key features of Consumer Protection Act 2019: Central Consumer Protection Authority, consumer rights, e-commerce regulation, product liability, simplified disputes, enhanced penalties. So these are the key benefits. So e-commerce platforms under its purview, making them accountable for consumer grievances. What are the key initiatives to strengthen consumer grievances redressal mechanism? E-Dakhil Patel and E-Jagriti. Portal launched in 2020 enables consumer to file complaints online. E-Jagriti, which was introduced in 2024, it helps in case tracking and management using digital intervention for a more streamlined consumer grievance redressal process. National Consumer Helpline NS 2.0 is also there. With the help of it supports 17 languages and accessible via WhatsApp, SMS, Umang app, and other platforms. Consumer Welfare Fund scheme is also there for financial aids to strengthen consumer rights, advocacy, and legal assistance. Consumer protection in e-commerce and digital is also there. And pattern regulation 2023 introduced by Central Consumer Protection Authority to prohibit deceptive digital marketing practices like false urgency, forced action, and hidden charges. Jago, Grahak Jago, this portal is a part of consumer awareness campaigns and to give alerts about fraudulent URLs, empowering them to make informed e-commerce decisions. So there are feature enhanced accessibility and transparency. E-Jagriti offers digital case filing, document exchange, virtual hearings, instant SMS, and email updates. It supports multiple languages, include chatbot assistants, voice to text features, help visually impaired and elderly user. There is use of technologically platforms which integrates Bharat Coast PayGo for seamless fee transaction. It uses role-based permission and end-to-end encryption to ensure data security. Virtual hearings cut down physical court appearance, speeding up dispute resolution. So these are the advantages. What are impact on consumer justice? E-Jagriti has registered over 2 lakh users, including non-resident Indians. In 2025 alone, more than 85,000 cases were filed via the platform. So that this digital transformation support faster, more inclusive consumer justice. About NCDRC was established in 1988 under the Consumer Protection Act 1986. It functions as a quasi-judicial body headquartered in New Delhi. So NCDRC orders can be made to the Supreme Court within 30 days. Next news is India's role in global food security progress 2025. World is witnessing a positive shift in the fight against hunger. The latest data shows a decline in global undernourishment from 688 million in 2023 to 673 million in 2024. India has been a key player in this progress, so its efforts in food security and nutrition have helped reduce hunger amid pandemic challenges. So these help India's strategies and challenges in transforming food system to ensure nutrition and sustainability. Global undernourishment trends, global hunger rates peaked increased during COVID-19 pandemics. About 88.2% of world population is undernourished in 2024. India's decline in hunger, India's undernourishment rate dropped from 14.3% in 20 no, to 2022 to 12% in 2022 to 24. This means 30 million fewer people face hunger. So this reduction is given India's large population and pandemic disruption. These gains reflect focused policy action. These gains reflect focused policy action and improved service delivery system. Transformation of the PDS, India's public distribution system has been modernized through digital tools, Aadhaar-based targeting, biometric authentication, and electronic point of sale devices have increased efficiency. One nation, one ration card, one nation, one ration card scheme also enables portability of food entitlements across states, aiding migrants and vulnerable groups. So these innovation allowed rapid scaling of food support during crisis. Focus on nutritional beyond calories. While calorie intake has improved, nutrition remains a challenge. Over 60% of Indian cannot afford a healthy diet due to high costs of nutrient-rich foods and weak supply chains. Initiative like Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman, integrated child development services now prioritize dietary diversity and nutrition sensitivity, aiming for long-term health benefits. What are the challenges in malnutrition in food system? Malnutrition, obesity, micronutrient deficiency are rising despite reduced hungers. Strengthening agri-food in infrastructure and support, investing in cold storage, digital logistic, and market access is important. Supporting women-led food enterprises and farmer product organizations, especially those growing climate resilient crops, can improve nutrition and livelihoods. Digital platforms like AgriStack and Enam, digital platform name AgriStack and Enam, improve agricultural planning and nutrition sensitive intervention. India's global leadership in food security, India Progress, is a model for developing countries. Its innovation in digital governance and social protection contribution to global food security goals. With 5 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, India's leadership is critical. Next news is India US Russia relation post 2025 Alaska Summit. The August 2025 Alaska summit between United States President Trump and Russian President Putin marked moment in global diplomacy. However, it impacts on India's foreign policy also, and bilateral ties with the United States and Russia remains complex and uncertain. India's strategic interests face challenges as the summit failed to produce clear outcomes beneficial to New Delhi. Alaska summit overview: the Trump-Putin meeting showed warmth but no major policy shift. India hoped the summit would ease United States pressure over its tie with Russia. So these hopes were dashed as United States maintained a tough stance, with Trump's senior advisor Peter Navarro affirming punitive tariffs aimed at India. So US sanction and trade tension. US imposed 25 secondary sanction on India before buying Russian oil. Reciprocal tariffs also remain in place, affecting India's export. The sanction appear more about geopolitical signaling that consistent policy given United States trade with Russia and China's larger Russian oil ports. India's refusal to credit Trump for meditating India-Pakistan ceasefire further strained ties. India's diplomatic challenges, despite multiple high-profile meetings with United States and Chinese leaders, India could not prevent tension or policy setbacks. The summit brought into light the need to prioritize substantive agreements over ceremonial diplomacy. About strategic autonomy and global south support, India's principle of adhering only the United Nations mandated sanction phase test. Compliance with United States demands on Iranian and Venezuela oil earlier may have encouraged further pressure on Russian oil imports. Future diplomatic direction. India's upcoming engagement include visit to Japan, China, and United States, South Africa, and hosting the Quad Summit. These offer opportunities to diversify partnership and reduce dependence on any single power. A more assertive stance is needed to contract US tariffs and sanctions that harms India's economy and sovereignty. Next news is Pampa River conservation under National River Plan. The central government has initiated to include the Pampa River under the National River Conservation Plan. This move aims to protect the river from pollution and degradation. The Union Minister for Jal Shakti has requested the Kerala state government to submit a detailed report. This report will support the preparation of comprehensive conservation project for the river. The Pampa River holds environmental and religious significance, especially due to its association with the Sabrimala shrine and major religious gathering. What are the significance of Pampa River? The Pampa is the third longest river in Kerala, flowing 176 countries. It originates from Pulachimala Hill in Western Ghats. The river passes through the district of Thitha, Idukhi, and Alafuza. It covers around 30 panchayats and the Changanur municipality, known as a Dakshin Bhagirathi or the Ganga of Kerala, which is scared to many, which is pure to many. So devotees believe bathing in the Pampa equals bathing in the Ganga. So current environmental challenges, the Pampa River faces high pollution levels. Waste dumping by local bodies is a major cause. Riverbank destruction is common, especially during the rainy season. Coastal erosion threatens the river stability. The absence of retaining walls lead to frequent bank collapses. These environment issues affect both ecology and religious practices tied to the river. About government initiative for conservation, inclusion in the NRCP will bring multi-crore funding and technical support. The plan includes preventing wastewater discharge into the river. Waste removal and construction of water purification plants are key importance. Riverbank protection measures such as building retaining walls will be funded. Role of state and local bodies. The Kerala government must prepare and submit a detailed conservation report. Local self-government institutions will receive technical aid. Municipalities like Cheganur play important role in managing river related issue. Next news is Anna Chakra PDS supply chain optimization tool. The Anna Chakra tool has been implemented in 30 out of 31 states of India's and union territories to optimize the public distribution system supply chain. This initiative aims to improve the efficiency of food grain distribution, reduce cost, support environmental sustainability. About Annachakra PDS supply chain optimization tool, Annachakra is supply chain optimization tool developed jointly by Whirlpool Program, Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer at IIT Delhi Department of Food Public Distribution. It targets the complex network of farmers, warehouses, and fair price shops that serve 81 crore beneficiary under the PDS. As of 2025, 30 states and union territories have adopted the tool, with Manipur being the only exception. With Manipur being the only exception. Working mechanism. Chakra PDS supply chain optimization tools uses advanced algorithm to determine the most efficient routes for moving food grains. It integrates with freight operation information system of Indian Railway through the Unified Logistic Interface Platform. Anna Chakra also linked with Prime Minister Gati Shakti platform, which provides geolocation of FPS and warehouses, enabling precise route planning and resource allocation. Scale and coverage: Anna Chakra covers approximately 4.37 lakh fair price shop and about 6,700 warehouses involved in PDA supply chains. Benefits are primary benefits include rupees 250 crore annually, mainly from reduced transportation expenses. Fuel consumption and logistic time have decreased, leading to low carbon dioxide emission also. So fuel consumption and logistic time decrease, low CO2 emission. India's climate change commitment by minimizing the environmental footprint of food distribution, it help in supporting this aim also. So it also improve the speed and efficiency of delivering food grains to beneficiary. So it is collaborated with Prime Minister Gati Shakti and FOIS, strengthened logistic management, promotes transparency and real-time monitoring. Next news is saltwater crocodile population rises in Sundarbans. So it will continue in the next episode, part 3. So kindly watch the next episode, next part third. I'm going to upload. Up to this 41 news we have already read. So kindly revise that, read, write and revise. Watch the next series. Thanks for watching. Stay consistent. Best of luck for your forthcoming exam.